I want to talk about the OpenAI ad up against the Anthropic ads, which we talked about last week. Because there was just a lot of chatter on tech Twitter about it. And then we find out what the people that were actually watching the commercials online, Super Bowl people, thought about them. So OpenAI ran an abstract, aspirational 60-second spot positioning codex as the next evolution of building, kind of tracing curiosity from childhood to AI-powered creation. And I actually really liked it. I thought that they were really tying into what AI has the possibility of being, which is something that, like, needs to be talked about, right? Also, I want to say that as a parent, I saw it as a response to, like, AI is coming to change things. What should I do to, put up my child, to succeed in the next future that's like coming with AI. And it was basically like focus on STEM, focus on building, focus on the curiosity, let it take you where you want to go, become an engineer, learn about, science and technology, and have that be a thing that you encourage your kids to get into. And put that up against the Anthropic ads, which were basically calling out OpenAI for having ads in their in like their searches in the future. And what I saw happen through like tech Twitter is everyone celebrating, oh yeah, Anthropic really coming for like OpenAI and like really like showed them. And then we even had the CMO of OpenAI and Sam Altman both step in with like huge paragraph long Twitter, posts going after Anthropic, which I thought was like the wrong response to like what you want to say to a challenger, especially because as we come to find out, only 7% of consumers know what Claude is versus the 73% that know about ChatGPT and OpenAI. So I really saw it as a like punching down moment and paying attention to competitor when you don't have to do that. So would love to know your thoughts, Marcus, on this and kind of how you saw it all unfurl from where you're sitting.
Well, where do we begin? I mean,
Yeah.
you really cast this situation in the right light. There's two things happening here. We're thinking about the market dynamics here. You've got the market leader, the distant market leader, which
It's
is
not even close.
OpenAI. Exactly, not even close. And then you've got like arguably number three, Anthropic, Claude, who are trying to fight their way into the discourse of AI. And because you have these two different players in the market, they have different responsibilities. For instance, when you are the market leader, it's your job to save and grow the category. It's no surprise that OpenAI would do an ad that talks about, to your point, like the possibilities of AI, like what it could do when it's, the best imagination of what AI could be. That's the job of the market leader, to save the category and grow the category. The job of the market challenger is to challenge the market leader. That's it. That's their job. So if you are a distant third, if you are, you have 7% penetration, or at least knowledge, 7% of the market know who you are, then you throw shots.
Yeah.
It remind me of, I love this. You talk about like, punching down,
Uh-huh.
AI punching down. Well, Sam Altman rather, um, publicly expressing his dismay with the
Mhm.
Claude spot. It reminded me of, like, do you remember the Drake and Pusha T beef a few
Mm.
years ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, Drake at the time is the biggest
Yeah.
hip hop artist, arguably one of the biggest artists on the planet at the time.
Mhm.
And you have Pusha T, who is an assassin. I mean, he can
Mhm.
rhyme like no other. He is an MC's MC. And he throws a shot at Drake, and you go, "Man, Drake, just ignore it." But no, no, not
Mhm.
Drake. Drake responds back. And then Pusha T comes back with
Mhm.
the song called "The Story of Adonis." It was like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh." And people who didn't even know Pusha T now know him
Mhm.
because Drake engaged him. When
Uh-huh.
you're the market leader, you don't respond to the market challenger. You're just giving them more light. You don't waste your time with that at all.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So when I think about the market dynamics, those are two things that come to mind. If I were to critique the execution, the strategic approach and creative executions of the spots, to me, I think that Anthropic's approach was just 10 times better because Anthropic's approach to their ad felt like they were in the group chat. They felt like they were knowledgeable and had close proximity to the discourse that people have around AI. It's overly optimistic, especially if you're open AI. It's like, hey, I
Mhm.
have this idea. Like, that's the best idea that anyone's ever thought of. You are going to change the world. You go, me? Wow, you gassing me up. This is great. I mean, that's how open AI works. It's
Mhm.
constantly positive, so to depict it to that avatar of it, to anthropomorphize a OpenAI in that way felt like they were listening, felt like they understood what we understood. They were seeing it
Mhm.
shoulder to shoulder with us. The little glitch that would happen when the guy, the weightlifter will wait a moment and then respond,
Mhm.
sort of how AI does, OpenAI does as well. So it was doing all the things I thought were creatively on point, and signaled the pain points that we have with the platform. And then, of course, there's the right hook that is the ads are coming. You go, great.
Mhm.
Another
Mhm.
place where ads are going to infiltrate our sanctuary, if you will. The OpenAI spot, to your point, was pretty esoteric, and I think purposefully so. In fact, if you were watching the ad and you didn't realize the OpenAI logo, you probably even know it was OpenAI,
Mhm.
right? I mean, most people don't know what Codex is. And
Right.
therefore, the attribution of that ad to anything is going to be terribly challenging. And from an executional perspective, not so great. From a strategic perspective, probably not the best
Mhm. Mhm.
execution. So between the two of them, I give it to Anthropic. I give it to Claude for sure.
Yeah. The one thing that stood out to me about the Anthropic things that I didn't like is how obvious it made the ads seem, right? Which is the point, right? Because the point is to make it cartoonish and
Yeah,
to be like, oh, you're gonna
hyperbolic.
get, yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
you're gonna get suggestions for things that are kind of related, but not really, and it's gonna kind of neg you a little bit, like we saw with the fitness spot, right? Or like, mess with you psychologically like we saw with the cougar spot, right?
yeah,
And what I found, kind of annoying about it was like that's not how ChatGPT would ever do ads, right? We just found out today that the person in charge of like the human like morality and all that just left OpenAI because they're doing the ads. And one of the things that she mentioned was that ChatGPT and OpenAI now have like the most, the biggest trove of human data based on our private thoughts.
yeah,
And that to me was like the biggest thing. It was like, no, no, OpenAI knows exactly what you're asking, knows how you're asking, knows what you're feeling, knows what you're thinking, more so than even Facebook. Right. And like, you got to remember how ads changed when Facebook first started getting in the game, right? I mean, to this day, we still hear that Instagram ads are like people's favorites. Why
yeah,
is that? Because they know exactly what you're looking at, how long you're stopping on a picture. They know the things, that your friends are looking at, right? Because they have all your closest friends tied to you, right? So it's like the more that you create this network of the things that you personally like, that you have friends that like are also looking at, are the things that you're going to get back, right? And so now OpenAI has all that information. So they're going to give you the exact targeted ads that are going to like mix with what you're asking for at the time. And that's where it's like, I wish they had gone that extra step. But the
mm,
problem is that when Anthropic eventually does have to do ads, they're going to have that same pushback. And it's going to be like, well, remember when you did those ads, like telling us that like OpenAI has all this personal data on us? Well, you kind of have that too. So, like, how are you going to be different? And it's like, well, you can't because people want good ads. Like, if you're going to give me ads, I want ads that are actually going to buy, be things that I want to buy.
yeah.
And that's where it's like, let if you're going to be real, then be like real. But I understand. I am a tech person. I understand the, back workings of that. I'm also a marketing person. I like good ads, So that was kind of like my thinking there. And I would love to get, kind of your thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that here's the rub when it comes to OpenAI and ads, right, or ChatGPT in particular and ads. To
Mhm.
your point, they have so much information on our inquiries, our curiosities, our interests, not unlike search in a lot of
Mhm.
ways, right? I think search is sort of the database of intent.
Mhm.
I'm curious about a thing, have some intention to either explore it, to buy it, to check it out. And Google captures that in our search behavior. And maybe ChatGPT goes a bit further because we're we inquire more of it because it can
Mhm.
provide more to us. So it's sort of the database of intent on crack, if you will, you know? But the challenge of having a lot of information is that we often mistake information for intimacy. We
Mhm.
think because we have a lot of information about a person that we know who they are, but truth is, we don't. And I would argue, in fact, that like the social data is far better because I get to the data is being captured of my people, and
Mhm.
you get a better understanding of my proximity to those people, and therefore how we probably more likely collectively create meaning. And that
Mhm.
gets us a bit closer, which is why folks probably enjoy Instagram ads more
Mhm.
because they're proximal to the things that I'm interested in. They're proximal to the people that I'm interested in and the people that I call my people. And that triangulation of information allows the platform to be a bit closer, to better understand who we are. So the ads ideally would be much more resonant or much more relevant to who we are. But most cases, people don't love ads.
Mm.
It's just
I
the
know.
it's just the truth. And, look, I've made ads for my entire career, but people don't love ads.
Mhm.
What people enjoy from a content perspective is cultural production.
Mhm.
And the best advertising isn't advertising at all. The best advertising is cultural expressions of shared ideologies, shared beliefs, shared ways of seeing the world.
Mhm.
That when you create something, people go, oh man, I got to share this.
Mhm.
Not because they love the brand so much, not because they love the product so much, but because of the messaging, the communications, the film, the content is an expression of my own identity. And I share it with my people in an effort to connect with my people.
Mhm.
And the best advertising has always been this way, which means then if ChatGPT were to really create powerful advertising, they would find ways or leverage their database of intent, leverage all the information that they have to create productions that are of people like me. And that, unless they're pulling from some API, they don't have that connection yet,
I
one
mean,
would
they're
say.
growing their group chat feature, right?
Yes,
Which
I
is
was
meant
saying
to
that's
get
right.
you to bring in all your friends and have
That's
those
right.
chats on there, right? We talked about this when they first were rolling it out because one of the features that I thought would be like brilliant is when you're doing like group planning trips, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like you're all together, you're trying to figure out things, and then you just have the like handy assistant there, like helping you out,
that's
do
right.
polls and like actually schedule things and, make the appointments or whatever. So they are heading that way, probably because they see that, right? Where it's like that social aspect to individuals is what has led, Facebook to get to where they are. So yeah, I agree that the cultural is so much more relevant these days. And we've talked about that here where it's like the companies I feel are doing like the best are the ones that barely even mention that they're like involved, right? Like some of my favorite ad spots last year were like the Nike ones, where it's like they made it about the players
Yeah.
and like the World Series ones where it's like you made it about them winning. And it wasn't like, well, they're all wearing Nike, like nobody cares that they're wearing Nike. It's they care that like were there and you're supporting the athletes and, making them feel like their story is the main thing, right? Like compare yourself to the athletes. Don't you want to be like them, right? making that aspirational and stuff. And I felt similarly here about like the Super Bowl like ads, like the ones that like hit me a little bit more. Like we didn't talk about this one, but I kind of like the Budweiser one where it's you're talking more about being patriotic and like the horse, and now it's like there's an eagle, you know? And it was just like a little more hitting on like the nostalgia than like, you know, some of the other ads that didn't hit for me. Which
I
we'll
mean, you're
talk about
I mean,
in
you're
your section.
spot on. You're absolutely spot on. You know, those things that we share with our people because they elicit emotions
Mhm.
inside of us. They excite emotions inside of us, whether it's surprise, whether it's anger, whether
Mhm.
it's joy, glee, and then we share them so
Mhm.
that our friends are able to engage in that
Mhm.
experience as well. Because in doing so, when you respond the way I expect you to respond, the way I responded, I go,
Mhm.
that's why we're best friends.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like you share things in your group chat and you just
Yeah.
wait for your people to be like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's
Mhm,
so
mhm,
great. And you go,
mhm,
see, that's why we're
mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
You know, we do these things because we're socially wired to do it.
Yeah.
Aristotle would say we are by nature social animals, and
Mhm.
so the things that we take in, the cultural production that we consume, the things that we waste away, as one would say, and we share with people like us are ways to connect us to people like us. So the ads, the advertising, the marketing communications that become expressions of ourselves are the ones that are far more powerful. And even the Claude Anthropic spot, sharing that to people is like, it do be like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I
come
mean,
on, don't
that's
be
how tech
crazy.
Twitter was just like, you know, blowing it out of proportion. I mean, I did think that like the best thing that happened from it was like that identity, right? Where it's like Claude has continued building on his identity as being like for like the creatives, right? Like, so I hear a lot of marketers prefer Claude, you know, and
Yes,
then like the builders, right? They're using Claude code. So it was like that, like, yeah, like you get it, you know? And
that's
so
right.
it really enmeshed that community a lot more than the OpenAI ones did, but OpenAI is more general purpose, right? Like, they're not specifically targeting just coders or like the creative class, right? They're going after everybody. And for
That's
me,
right.
it's like OpenAI is going after Google and like kind of building what that vision is for like AI. Because like right now, most of what we hear about AI is negative, right? And, like, I mean, it just is, right? And then for Claude to kind of jump on top of it and say, like, oh, ads are another thing now we have to like, have to deal with in our AI is another thing that sucks. So like that negativity aspect to it, even though it was, you know, punching up, which is what you're supposed to do, for me was like, ugh, we're doing another like negative thing. And I've been talking about this recently because I've basically been talking about this like Monsters Inc. theory of marketing, where it's like we're stuck on like the rage floor of like trying to scare people or make them angry and elicit these like negative feelings from them, and we should be moving over to the laugh floor of like, you know, where it 10x the amount of energy that like they were creating because it was like good and joyful feelings, right? So I'm hoping that things start moving over in that direction a little bit more. But we'll
But this is
see.
so awesome. I mean, this is so great. Like that Monsters Inc. metaphor is perfect, by the way. It's so good.
Yeah, thank you.
The
I was
interesting part
watching it
about
recently with
that,
my kids and I was like, "Oh my god, this is what's happening right now."
the interesting part about that is that biologically we respond the exact same way.
Mm,
Like when we're angry, like our bodies our heart rate goes up, our pupils dilate. Like our bodies respond the same way
mhm,
when we're like overjoyed. Our pupils dilate, our
mhm,
heart rate goes up, our bodies respond the exact same way. So catalyzing behavior, Jonah Berger, who's
mhm. Yep.
a researcher or professor at
Mhm,
Wharton, talks about this about like why we share. He
mhm,
talks about like, this exciting emotion
mhm,
biologically does the same thing. People are super angry or super excited, but it's in the middle
mhm.
that where people do nothing. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice. People don't
Mhm.
move like that. You have to
Yeah.
excite them because their bodies respond the exact same way. I think it's also worth noting that while OpenAI, as we've been saying, is trying to set the landscape for what the category could be, or for what AI could be. Anthropic as a brand, I think is did a really good job of carving out the space it's trying to occupy in the category, in
Mhm,
that Anthropic, being anthro, being people,
mhm,
that Anthropic's all about the human part of all this. Like,
right.
they're the only brand that talks about, look at the human connection between technology and people. So for the ad to be all about people, to anthropomorphize the platform or the technology through people, the hyperbolic nature that seems so ridiculous about
Mhm,
technology,
mhm.
all those things feel spot on. And while the negative angle of where the category is going, led by OpenAI, certainly felt like a cautionary tale. At the end of the day, they still were saying, "But please keep using AI. Just
Yeah.
choose us."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay, so a couple lessons to be learned here is do not confuse tech Twitter engagement with consumer resonance. Virality does not mean that it was effective. I think it was effective in some ways, but the way that tech Twitter kind of reacted really showed to me how insular that world is right now. And that includes a lot of views on AI overall. And that's why I thought the OpenAI one like really hit for me a little bit more because it's like trying to invite people into the world of possibilities for AI. At a time when a lot of people don't know what to expect and all they keep hearing about is that they're going to lose their jobs and that it's going to take over. I mean, the article that just came out yesterday that the people that are using AI very intensely are working even more than they thought they would, right? So all these things that we're being promised that it's gonna, make you more effective and, lessen the amount of work that you do, is turning to be the opposite, right? Another lesson is that market leaders should not punch down when a challenger engages. They should have just let it be and then let these numbers come out and then show like this is why we don't even pay attention to you because 7% of people are the only ones that know you compared to our 73%, right? And then the last thing that I think that OpenAI could have done is to call them out and say that, they included in their blog, like, if we have to revisit this decision in the future about having ads in the platform, we'll be very transparent about it. And then, called them out and said, like, look, like, we have looked at every variety of of what we can do to make this a profitable business, and we know that you have too. Ads is the solution that we found for these reasons, and we'll see you when you get here,
and
instead
there's
of
one honorable mention, though, one honorable
yeah.
mention there, an asterisk,
Mhm.
that if you are a leader of a company, you should probably stay away from hot takes. You should
Yeah.
probably shut up a little bit, because Sam Altman was the one that, like, if we ever use ads, we have hit the rock bottom and we have
Uh-huh.
exhausted every option available to us. And it is a sign of desperation. All the things that sounds like funny and great and headliney and
Yeah.
hotline on a stage, but it comes back to bite you when you
Mhm.
find yourself
Yeah.
in a precarious situation where what it's gonna cost to invest in this technology to
Mhm.
realize its potential is way more than it's getting at the moment or have on the horizon, that we have to now look at advertising, which basically underwrites everything on the planet. Then you should probably kinda keep the hot takes at a bare minimum, because they can
Yeah.
come back to bite you.
Exactly. Awesome.